What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about what could be our first look at the new Warzone map for Black Ops 6, the Season 1 integration, plus even more. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and as a reminder, there's been plenty of brand new article coverage going up over on detonated.com, and plenty of coverage every single hour over on Detonated's Twitter. All of those links are going to be down below in this video's description. So it's been absolute craziness over the last week and a half, talking everything about multiplayer, zombies, and even campaign. What we know so far from the direct, of course, and even my trip to Treyarch last week, but something I haven't been able to talk about just yet is in regards to Warzone. So the Black Ops 6 Warzone integration is scheduled to release later this fall, likely with the beginning of Season 1. Let's break into the first part of the Warzone discussion, which is carry forward. So for those that were unaware, it was already confirmed that there will not be any type of carry forward content from Modern Warfare 3 to Black Ops 6. There's one slight exception, and that is the fact that the pre-order wood skins that you get by picking up any edition of the game, those skins will indeed transfer to Black Ops 6 day one and probably even during the beta, but that's it. Now, if you do want to use your Modern Warfare 2 or 3 content, whether it's operators, blueprints, or other cosmetics, you can still do that within Warzone even when Black Ops 6 integrates with that game later this fall with the first season. So there still will be Warzone 1 like carry forward. As you guys probably remember, when Cold War came out, you were still able to use Modern Warfare 19 content in Warzone 1, and then when Vanguard came out, you were still able to use MW19 and Cold War content during the Warzone Caldera cycle. So with that out the way, we're also going to be seeing omnidirectional movement added into Warzone with the first season of DLC. It was confirmed by the press, who also managed to answer some questions over at Treyarch Studios last week, that yes, the new omnidirectional movement that will be within multiplayer and zombies, and of course campaign, that will also be added to Warzone later this fall. That's going to change everything. I mean, I think with the MW3 integration last year, that already provided an overhaul that I think was very much needed for the Warzone ecosystem. As of right now, we're kind of back to where Warzone 1 left off at the end of Vanguard cycle in terms of all the quality of life improvements, and now the movement is better than ever. But looking at this omnidirectional movement that we're getting for BO6, that really is going to fundamentally change Warzone as we know it, and in my opinion, it's probably going to change the skill gap in ways that we just haven't seen, at least not in several years. But during the Black Ops 6 Direct event, Studio Head of Communications Stephanie Snowden did say the following.
And it's not just about launch, because the team is already focused on delivering a ton of content in the live seasons, which we'll be sharing more about. Am I allowed to talk about Warzone yet?
No. So while that clip is funny, you guys may have noticed that at around this timestamp, there is a really interesting and peculiar clip that is put on screen, and it's of a Hellstorm missile being called in, but it does depict a map that doesn't seem to be anything that we've seen in multiplayer, maybe tied to campaign, but what are the odds this clip is shown close to the part where they actually mention Warzone here for Black Ops 6? So I'm gonna assume with COD Next happening on August 28th, that'll be the event where they either fully reveal the Black Ops 6 Warzone map, or by that point, they'll have content creators at the event maybe playing a part of it. It's unclear what they're going to do, especially considering COD Next is earlier this year than it ever has been, like we saw for MW2 or 3. But there's a lot of speculation that this map that we saw in the background of this footage is actually a map called Avalon. So over in the submarine on Rebirth Island, as of a good week and a half ago, there was this bulletin board you had to interact with to complete a new Easter egg, and on that bulletin board, you could see key points of interest that are labeled as DC, Kuwait, Avalon, and even Iraq. We know 3 of those locations are for sure going to be in the Black Ops 6 campaign based on all of the recent marketing, but what about Avalon? That's an area that we really haven't heard of, at least not recently. So fellow channel member and supporter Deathmonk did send me the following images that I believe were originally posted by Cassian in a Call of Duty Discord server. So according to all these images here, it does look like this map, Avalon, isn't for multiplayer. Now, it could definitely be part of campaign like I mentioned before, but judging from the size of this map, from what we can see in the gameplay, it's probably something that's Resurgence sized, or something like Vandal, where it's a hybrid between Battle Royale and Resurgence, because there's also a very particular map that you can see in the Black Ops 6 Direct live stream, and it's an actual map that says Avalon, and that lines up perfectly with the footage that we actually managed to see a clip of during the Direct event. You can see lots of bodies of water and quite a few buildings, as you will see in the footage. Now, what's also interesting is there's one building specifically that also lines up perfectly with the physical attack map that could already be seen seen in that in-game footage. So there is a building that could be seen in several clips throughout the Direct. There's also some gameplay that doesn't feature a HUD, and that doesn't really mean much, but the gameplay also seems to be taking place near the docks of what looks like this Avalon type map. So I believe several clips of gameplay during the Direct were shown to us on purpose, and they may not be for multiplayer and possibly even for campaign. These could be clips of what could be the Black Ops 6 Warzone map. And I do want to remind you that a job listing a couple of years ago over at Treyarch Studios did confirm they were working on another iteration of Outbreak and even a new Warzone map. Now, I want to guess that the new iteration of Outbreak was actually for Modern Warfare 3, or maybe it was originally for Black Ops 6, but they had to pull it forward and use it for MW3 since Sledgehammer needed an extra mode of some sort. So we can scratch that out for a second. But the fact that it was said they were working on a new Warzone map has me really curious, because what if that map was Avalon, and what if that map is seen throughout parts of the campaign, and then parts of that map can then be used for, let's say, multiplayer or a Resurgence / Battle Royale experience? That is certainly a possibility, but I will point out this could be another Las Almas situation where you find a physical tac map in campaign or a different mode that appears to be of a big Warzone-like space, but then that map never ends up actually releasing in Warzone. Now, shall I remind you, the concept art of the Las Almas Warzone map does exist and did pop up several months ago. I made a full video about it that I'll probably link down below. That map ended up being turned into what is now known as Urzikstan, but at one point, that physical tac map for Las Almas did represent a Warzone map that was probably going to come for the MW3 integration, or if MW2 ended up getting just a second year of support. Now, as of right now, we have Urzikstan, Vandal, Fortune's Keep, and even Rebirth Island. Maybe what happens here is they don't cycle out Urzikstan as we'd all expect with Season 1, but instead they cycle out Vandal, since that's a map that's a hybrid between BR and Resurgence. Maybe Avalon is roughly that size. Based on the attack map that we can currently see, it doesn't really look that big, but maybe that map replaces Vandal as we have right now. And then if you want to talk about Urzikstan being vaulted, maybe that's something for late March, and we'll circle back to that, but I'm already preparing people out there in the comments or in future videos to be like, oh, it's reused assets, it's all from campaign. It's like, no, if they can find the way to repurpose good and replayable environments for multiple modes, then I'm all for it if it means they can save resources and use those resources for other new pieces of content and other post-launch supports over the course of 2024 and even 2025. Now, Sheikah Island just got vaulted as of recently, and I honestly wouldn't ever expect more than 4 maps to be active at a single moment in time. Something I suggested before is maybe just keep Urzikstan and Vandal on rotation for BR, vault the Resurgence part of Vandal, and then just keep Fortunes and Rebirth on rotation for Resurgence as of right now. But if you end up adding in a map called Avalon that is a hybrid, that's where you can either vault Vandal or maybe even Urzikstan. I'm not sure how they want to do it, but Fortunes Keep and Rebirth should be safe. Those maps are way too new, not even a year old yet. Neither of them are. So I don't think either of those maps are going to get vaulted in the next year and a half. We should be good to go with those maps. But I know what you guys are probably thinking, right? What about Verdansk? There's been a rumor for quite some time that apparently Verdansk is going to be the map that releases with Black Ops 6 Season 1. Here's what I've been saying, especially on the recent podcast. I don't really see how Verdansk could be the map for the Black Ops 6 integration. Not only is it not really a Treyarch map, it's an Infinity Ward one, I just don't see how that would really fit, especially with the narrative of the Black Ops 6 story. We did have Verdansk 84 perfectly weaved into the Cold War post-launch narrative, which was really well done, by the way, mind you, but that still wasn't a Treyarch map. It had that Treyarch spin on it that Raven helped incorporate with the red doors and some Easter eggs here and there, but are we really about to get a Verdansk 91, a map that takes place just, less than a decade later, or will we end up getting a Modern Warfare 19 Season 5 era Verdansk? I just don't see how that would really work for Season 1 of Black Ops 6, but if that does release, I'm not opposed to it. Keep that in mind. I just feel like that map is best saved for March 2025, which really isn't that far away, right? That would be the 5-year anniversary of Warzone altogether, and I understand the hype around the OG map in Fortnite that came back for a while. I understand that, and maybe Warzone wanted to compete with what Fortnite just did, but I think there's a better time and place to do that, not necessarily Season 1 of the new Black Ops game. But again, considering that we saw Verdansk in Modern Warfare 19, we saw Almazra in Las Almas in Modern Warfare 2, Urzikstan in Modern Warfare 3, we've typically seen the new Warzone map within the campaign. So I think with all the evidence that Avalon is already in the Black Ops 6 campaign, there's a very strong possibility that if the map doesn't get added to Warzone, you'll still see sections of it put into multiplayer somehow, and nobody would ever really complain about that, since Treyarch has done a really good job over the years putting a spin on reused environments and just reused spaces altogether. I really wouldn't mind if we have like an MP map or two that takes place around Avalon, a full campaign mission, and then maybe even a Resurgence Battle Royale hybrid map. I think that all sounds great to me as long as the map is built correctly. But the last thing I know with is the fact that Treyarch really hasn't done their own Battle Royale map since, what, Blackout? Raven's been working on Warzone along with Infinity Ward, and I know Beanox and High Moon have also played a huge part over the last couple of years, but Treyarch really hasn't had any part to play in Warzone development other than that job listing that I mentioned just earlier. So maybe, and just maybe, the map that they were working on for Warzone is truly Avalon, but if it's not, it could be another map that we finally end up seeing either late 2024 or early next year in 2025. I would safely assume that if Verdansk is the map that releases this fall, then Treyarch probably still has a Warzone map up their sleeve they'll end up dropping later or some point next year, because that job listing again wouldn't make sense if they aren't really working on a Warzone map at all. But I don't know about you guys, I really wouldn't mind at any point in time to just see the Blackout map remastered for the Warzone engine. Just throw that in for fun. Doesn't have to be the big Season 1 map or any significant type drop, but I wouldn't mind at all seeing that map brought back to some capacity and to see how it would play with the omnidirectional movement and all the mechanics of Warzone. That would be absolutely phenomenal and actually bridge the gap together a bit more between Blackout and Warzone. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave our thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on what could be our first look at the new Warzone map for Black Ops 6? How you're feeling about Avalon and everything else we discussed about the Season 1 integration. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.